This is my Yamaha Yzf1000R Thunderace,
which looked like this when I picked it up. Left parked up for 20 years and forgotten about, it had seen better days.
So I decided to save it and rebuild it from my living room and my driveway. And so far it's had a few ups, but mainly a lot of downs.
This dent meant I had to source a replacement frame, which thanks to eBay I found one pretty easily. And I had the replacement frame powder coated by Full Range Finishing in Letchworth, and then what should have been a straightforward engine swap into a replacement frame actually turned into an epic couple of disasters. First was when an exhaust stud snapped and my drill bit decided to snap off in snapped stud. And the second hurdle was when I snapped another bolt, specifically a camshaft clamp bolt.
But we managed to overcome those, and here we are with a frame and the forks in place, as well as the swing arm and the rear suspension. And in this upload, we're going to continue putting this Yamaha Thunderace back together.
Okay, so in my last upload, many of you were horrified at witnessing me using copper grease on the swing arm bearings. And because I am a person who absolutely loves constructive criticism, I am going to take this lithium based grease and put things right. This grease is really messy and sticky, and so the only way for me to remove this is to simply go at it with washing up liquid and giving it all a good scrub down. Because the copper in the grease will act as grinding paste, I also make sure I remove the grease from the new bearings too. Then once removed, I take a good dollop of the lithium based grease and slap it in there. And of course, torque all the swing arm linkage bolts up to spec. Now we got that sorted, time to move on with getting this bike back on the road. And it makes sense to fit the wiring harness at this stage, which is also covered in 20 years of grime. So we might as well give it a clean while we have the chance, by using the kitchen sink. I hope my girlfriend isn't watching, which I suppose doesn't matter, does it, given the fact that there is a motorcycle in the house. And with a clean wiring harness, I can now install it to the bike. This under tray is also very dirty. Clean enough, it can now be installed. This little box is the alarm, I believe, which I am hoping doesn't actually work. This is the fuse box. Here we have the back wheel with a fresh Dunlop Sport Smart tyre, powder coated in a gloss black and with new bearing. And so we get it ready to fit to the bike by installing the sprocket, which I decided not to replace as it seems to have plenty of life left on it, making sure to use Loctite on the bolts before I torque them all up. I also reuse a rear brake disc. It would have been nice to replace, but it at least helps keep some of the costs down. This is the adjustment bolt for the chain. Then I take out my lube again and apply it to the rear axle and on the rear wheel bearings. And installing the rear wheel isn't exactly fun. I always seem to struggle somewhat. I actually hook my foot under the wheel to help support the weight of the wheel. Now, this rear brake caliper I thought was a bit sticky when I was tearing the bike down, and so I reckon it will be worth giving it a little service. I'm actually going to look to reuse these brake pads since they have plenty of meat left on them, plus they will marry up to the rear disc which we have recycled. Looking rather tired and a little rusty, I was hoping just a simple rub down and clean up would sort them out. This was a great little hack to make life easier. Using my power drill helped me clean up these bolts a treat. Quite the transformation, isn't it? And yes, I managed to torque these bolts up using my hand as a bench vise. I'm really happy with how this rear brake caliper cleaned up, so let's get it installed onto the bike. Sticking with the rear of the bike for now, we can whip the rear sets into place. This is a Brembo rear brake master cylinder, which I cleaned up. It is a bit odd that the Thunderace was fitted with a Brembo rear brake master cylinder and not a front one. I wonder what the reason behind that was. Also, what do you think to me having so much of this bike powder coated in a satin black? Have I gone over the top, do you think? I can tell you at this stage that the fairing has been completely resprayed as well, which I will keep under wraps for now. I managed to find replacement foot rubbers, which I was happy about, as well as a gear peg rubber too. Now it's on with the rear grab rails and the rear foot peg mounts. This is a pillion seat latch and key mechanism. This is a radiator expansion bottle. Now we move on to installing the front wheel, and I use plenty of grease. The front wheel is a lot easier to install than the rear. However, this axle bolt is tight from the overlap of the powder coating. But my hands, as we have now discovered, have got 1000 Newton meters of torque behind them, and so I force the axle bolt through without the use of a hammer. And I guess since we gave the rear calipers a clean, then it makes sense to give the front brake calipers a good service. And don't worry, we won't be using these brake pads again. After a clean down, we then start to put the brake calipers back together. I now have gone for a set of EBC sintered pads as a replacement brake pad. There is an arrow on this retainer to indicate it needs to be installed in the direction the brake disc travels. Again, really impressed with how well these have cleaned up. And so fitting them onto the bike with their new brake pads means they will really complement the new brake discs. Now, given that I have cleaned and serviced the brake calipers, then I should do the same with the clutch and brake lever components too. The brake lever is looking clean. So I repeated the same process with the clutch lever and the reservoir looked manky, but cleaned up just fine. Now we can install these spanking clean levers to the bike. Along with the cleaned up switchgear, I will need to hook up this choke lever at a later stage when we install the carbs. Now this throttle tube should be able to twist with ease on the bar, but it couldn't due to the layer of paint from the powder coating. So unfortunately, it meant I had to sand a good amount of it off, which took a while and goes to show how durable powder coating is. And that worked a treat, much better. Which means I can now add my new throttle grips from eBay, and using a hairspray hack I discovered on YouTube, works like magic and allows the grips to slide on with ease. And lastly, the bar end weights, which are designed to reduce handlebar vibrations. So just look at that then. This Thunderace is slowly coming together, and seeing it with the wheels installed and all of the other little bits and pieces is getting me excited to get this bike complete. Now before I look to end this upload, I do want to share with you an exciting update. This behind me is my new unit. Yes, my very own workshop, which is going to be an absolute dream come true. I cannot begin to tell you how much of a game changer this will be for Bikes with Rye. Working from my driveway, or in this case working on my Thunderace from my living room, is just not ideal. So I cannot wait to move into my new workshop. But for now, I am going to look to end this one here. Thanks for watching, and as always, I hope to see you in another one very soon. See you later.